Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the pits of Motor Chaos. This is your host, Dave. I got a line special guest, the driver of the beautiful 67 Buick Skylark Nitro Funny Car, John Lipori. How you doing, John?
Pretty good, Dave. How about yourself?
Oh, not bad. I can't complain. The weather's nice right now. How's the weather up there in Cali?
Oh, weather's perfect. Nice and cool, just like we like it. 65 degrees.
So you ran a couple events so far this year, right, with the Buick?
Yeah, so far we've had the car out now. It's pretty much just a cackle car, as you may or may not know. We don't run the car anymore because it is an original car from 1967, one of the first years of a funny car. And this is a car that my father built in 1967 along with his partner, Steve Malise. He had Brooklyn Speed and Machine in New York. And basically, this car is original as can be. The front tires are original, the body, of course, the chassis, the rear end, the wheels, the blower, the intake. Many other parts are still original to the car. So it couldn't go down the course if we wanted it to because it's just so valuable. It's just a one of one, and it's just made of unobtainium. And if something were to happen to it, we'd just be completely lost.
So how long has it been since that car's actually been on a track?
The last time the car was down track was probably 1971, and the car ran from 67 when it was built to 1971, and it ran a best of 779 at 191 miles an hour. That would have been in 1969 with Bruce Bohan behind the wheel.
Wow. So now, when you calculate that car, how much percentage of nitro is in that car?
Well, when the car it ran on 35% nitro. And while that may not sound like a lot, you understand the Buicks were not anywhere close to what the Hemi could actually put out at that time. So we run the car basically just about that same amount, about 35%, which sounds very low, but, it's amazing. All of the old timers have come up to us at just about every event that we've run that car at. And they just cannot believe. First of all, the sound of a Buick is completely different than a Hemi, but they can't believe that we run that little bit of that smaller percent of nitro because it does still have the effect of the nitro smell and all that, but the sound is really unique. It sounds much louder than it actually is.
Wow. So now, John, what's your history in the drag race, and how did you get into drag race? Was your dad got you into it?
Pretty much, yeah. Basically, when that car was built, I was 10 years old, and my dad, my dad had a shop. Well, my dad was always in the cars, but Dad had a speed shop called Brooklyn Speed Machine. We were originally from New York, and we moved out to California in 1970. But Dad had a speed shop, Brooklyn Speed Machine, and he was co-partner with a gentleman named Steve Malise. And Steve happened to be the dealership principal, in other words, the owner of Mid-County Buick, which was in New York as well. And it was his idea, since they were both race guys, it was his idea to get Buick to basically get into the funny car game because in 1967 everybody was trying to get involved. So it was his idea to get 19 of the New York Buick dealers to put $1,000 each in, and that's how the car got built.
Wow.
I know, crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Couldn't even. I mean, it was never. That's the craziest thing that possibly happened. Steve Malise told me that Steve's still alive. Steve's the only one that's alive. My dad's passed away. The colorful drivers that have been involved, they're all passed away. Coney Allen Ralph was the first driver. Coney Allen Ralph Landolfi, he was the first driver, and he only raced the car one time, and it banged the blower. And I think Ralph was a little bit, when that body came down, it was a little different story than most of those guys were used to in the day. And the next driver was Rapid Red Lang, and he's the guy that took the Chrysler Hemi, the 392, as a dead-end kid's dragster. They're also out of New York. And he put that in the frame rails, and he ran it one time. And again, when I talked to Red before he passed away, he said when that body came down, because he was a dragster guy, he said when that body came down, he felt like he was in a coffin. He just couldn't take it. So he only ran the car one time, Connecticut. And then after that, Bruce Bowen, who worked for my dad at Brooklyn Speed Machine, yeah, he asked for the keys. He said, "Hey, well, there's nobody else doing anything with it. Let me run it." So he put the Buick in, and actually, ultimately, ran it for that amount of time from late '67 all the way to '71, and had the most success with the car.
Now, for you yourself, have you ever done any drag racing?
I've really been down track just a few times. I had a '28 Ford Roadster that was down track. We took that car over to Eagle Field. I've drag raced just a little bit, but not really anything. Like my dad built a funny car, but they were also a dragster guys. So they had, while the funny car only ran on the East Coast, my dad had a series of top gas rails that he built from the mid '60s all the way through 1969. And they ran all over. They came out to California. They went to Indy. They went to the Winter Nationals. They went to, Pomona. They were everywhere. So, I followed with him and all that kind of stuff, but I never really seriously thought about it, drag racing from that standpoint as far as actually driving the cars. Actually was more interested, just like he was, into the mechanical side than the actual driving.
So all that traveling around with your dad and stuff, you probably met a lot of the old time drivers, huh?
No, we sure did, and like I said, we went back, my dad, when he was alive, we went back, when I just acquired the car, we went back to North Carolina for the Drag Times Hall of Fame event, the East Coast event. That's in Henderson, North Carolina. And went back with Dad, and we drug the funny car back. It was just as I bought it. It was totally just as is. I mean, we needed everything. And wasn't running, of course, obviously. Nothing, paint, nothing. And we went back there, and Steve Malise was there because he was getting inducted in the Hall of Fame. He was there, Billy Lynch was there, Bobby Lynch, Rapid Red Lang was there, Coney Island Ralph was there. And my dad hadn't seen any of those guys in like 43 years at that point. And I was like a sponge the whole weekend, just soaking it all up. It was just, the stories were just unbelievable. Stuff those guys did. How they didn't get arrested each week was beyond me. Just crazy. It was crazy stuff.
Now, do you have a Cackle dragster too?
I do, as a matter of fact. Well, I've got my dad's last dragster, which was supposed to get restored after I finished the Engineer Buick funny car, which is, for your listeners to know, it is the world's only Buick-powered Buick funny car. There were other Buick bodies, but no one ever had built a Buick-powered Buick funny car. So let's get that straight. Anyway, I have my dad's last car, his 168-inch dragster from 1968, and it's an as-is condition. But that got sidetracked because I had an opportunity to purchase the last Pat Foster dragster that was ever built, and that was owned by a good family friend of my dad's, Billy Lynch from New York. And Billy had Pat Foster create this dragster that he never owned. It was way over the top, and Pat built the car, and just before he completed it, he unfortunately passed away. And the car went from Idaho to New York, and has never been seen here on the West Coast. And until I purchased the car, it hasn't made a debut yet, but it is going to next month at the Carmel Mission Classic during Carmel Car Week, basically. But we're going to hopefully get that car running and have it out for the first time at the March meet next year. And I hope to put Cole Foster, who's Pat's son, who's never seen the car, in the car when we first fired it out.
Now that car is nitro.
Yes, that car runs about 88 to 92%. Standard 392 Hemi, but it has a lot of good parts. Billy didn't end up scrimping on anything. He definitely went first class, and it is a beautiful car. I'm so happy to have it. It came with a matching Mr. Ed trailer, which, as far as we've documented with Eddie Buck and Steve Gibbs, we documented that there was about 18 of those trailers built in 1968. And Billy went to no expense spared getting this one restored. And it is a beauty. So the trailer matches the car. It's definitely a nice, beautiful pieces to have, and I'm so happy to have it for the family. And looks like they're both candy apple red with gold leaf letters, and they both say Brooklyn on them. So it's kind of a natural.
So when you bring that out to the March meet, are you gonna cackle or are you gonna actually go down a track with that car?
It could go down track. It could be like a push start car if it needed to be. It could be that kind of car. It could make a squirt if it wanted to. Have the drive shaft. The drive shaft's out of the car currently, but I mean it could. Last time it was cackled was back a couple of years ago in New England with Al Segrini was sitting in the car. It could make squirts. The chances are more than likely it'll just be a cackle car, just like the pretty much just like the funny car.
So now, would you consider your dad like your biggest inspiration?
I would have to say without a doubt. My dad was always with having him in the family and having him as a mentor. If there was something that needed to be, his mind was always working. He always had a solution to something that nobody else could seem to figure out. And he'd fabricate stuff around the house. I mean, I always thought it was pretty common that he'd make whatever we would need in the house as far as any kind of bracketry or anything, stuff like that. He was just a genius at small things, but he had a great mind for going fast. He was one of the first ones to run an 871 blower on a car on a basically a 440 wedge motor. That was back in '64, and so he started out with the 871 blower as early as that. And in '68, he was the only one running a 871 blower on a rail, whether that was gas or fuel.
Now, do you have any old time drivers that you would consider any kind of inspiration to you at all?
There's a lot of great drivers out there. When you talk about the greats, you're talking about Poldy, you're talking about Eddie Ace McCullough, you're talking about there's just so many of them back in those days. Those guys when they drove, they were real men. And not to take anything away from the drivers nowadays, but the cars are so much computerized, and so when they can shut them off in the starting line, it just takes all the game. They really need to back those cars down, I feel, and put in less fuel, and obviously only limit them to one mag and a smaller blower, and put the controls back into the driver so that the fans can witness drivers can actually try to negotiate down, at the racetrack when it starts to break loose. Obviously, prep them a little less, Prep them a little less would certainly slow the cars down.
Now, for the Buick, do you have any sponsors for that car?
I don't really have any sponsors, and as you might imagine, this East Coast tour really has cost quite a lot of money. We've had the car out in the East Coast since the end of February. First place that was Amelia Island. We were luckily enough and honored to be invited to the Amelia Island Concord Elegance. The first time funny cars were ever there, basically. We got invited to that event, and then after that, a week later, we were at the Gator Nationals. And then we were lucky enough, fortunately enough, God was willing that we were able to leave the car at the Don Gar's Museum Ocala, Florida for 7 weeks, which if anybody's ever been to that museum, you can tell there's nowhere to put anything. But Don took a liking to the car, and he wanted to make sure the body was up so everybody could see the Buick engine. He made sure of that. Don was so cordial to us, I can't thank him enough. And we left the car there for 7 weeks, and we flew home. We came back, went to the Virginia Nationals. We went to Bowling Green, Kentucky. We've been to the New England Nationals. We've got the U.S. Nationals is the next event the car will be at, which will be a huge event. That's the 65th anniversary. We have an all-Buick event at Cecil County, Maryland in September. October 11th and 12th, we're doing Nancy Wilson's event, Gallup Motorsports in North Carolina. And then the last event will be the GS Nationals, the Buick, all Buick GS Nationals. And that's at Bowling Green, Kentucky. That's October 24th, 26th. That'll be the last outing for the car. So the car will basically have been out on the East Coast where it ran almost the entire year, and then we'll bring it home after that.
Now, do you ever go to any local car shows at all?
Haven't done anything yet because basically this whole year we've been busy. That's why I haven't had the dragster out yet because I've been so busy with the funny car. But as soon as we're done with this is the only year, Dave, I'm really going to try to do this East Coast thing. I have to thank my wife, Raina Lipori, for all of her support, for having me gone for so many, sometimes 3 weeks at a time. I'm gone. And so being on the road, doing all that stuff, this is the only year we're going to do that. Next year, we'll be here in California, where I'm based, and do as many events as we can in California. Pleasanton wanted me there this year for their event. They wanted me at the Sonoma races, which is coming up next week. But I told them the funny car wouldn't be here, that kind of thing. So, but next year, for sure, we'll do as many California events, local shows. We'll fire this car up as many times as we can. We're just having all kinds of fun with it. And every time we go somewhere, I want you to know that my dad's there with us. Even though my dad passed away in 2016, we have his ashes. We take him on the road. We left him at the Dungarts Museum with the car. When we cackle the car, we put Dad in the car. He's there at every step. So we kind of do this in his memory.
Now, when you go out next year to cackle the car, are you going to bring both cars with you or just one?
I've got a dragster and a funny car. So if the event calls for a funny car, we'll do that. I am going to support Steve Gibbs and Cindy Gibbs in the Nitro Revival 4 over at Irwindale. So we'll do that again. That's in May, I believe, next year. And we'll have the funny car out for that event, for sure. But the other events, I'm not quite sure. I'd like to take the dragster out to the March meet and, debut it there and fire it up for the first time. So that'll be something I'll be trying to, just accomplish over the winter and get that car ready to go.
So how many events would you like to put on your schedule for next year?
Well, next year, like I said, it's all going to be California for sure. I'm not trying to leave the state whatsoever, but I'd do as many as I possibly could, as long as I can keep the nitro flowing and get a good source for that. Just be out there as often as I can. Because then it'll only be 3 days maximum kind of thing instead of being out there 3 weeks.
So how much nitro you burn for cackle?
Well, the funny car will go through a bunch of it. Sure, and we've been doing some body down cackles, and we're doing some body up cackles. We have we have basically a 3.5 gallon tank in it, and we can go through that, and we can almost drain that dry in about 3 minutes 40 seconds is what we're looking at. So right around 3 minutes, we'd like to keep the car going. And Uncle Tony's Garage just did a piece on it. So if any of your listeners are onto the YouTube. He just did a piece on the car when we were at Bowling Green. That's a great piece because Tony's even though he's a Mopar guy, he's really a closet Buick guy.
Now, where do you find that on YouTube?
Uncle Tony's Garage.
Uncle Tony's Garage.
Super nice guy. I was just sorry that I didn't know who he was when he came up to the car, but apparently everybody at the racetrack knew of him. Super nice guy, and just did a really nice piece. It was very nice.
Now, do you have a YouTube channel?
I do actually. It's basically under my name, John Lipori. That's Lipori. It should be available. I'll have to make sure because I know when I access it, I can find it that way. I have to make sure that it's a public channel. I'm pretty sure it is. I've got some videos that I've put up, several videos of the Buick cackling with both the body up and the body down. And also, the Uncle Tony's Garage piece should be on there. The episode should be on there.
Nice. Well, people listening to go on John Lipori on YouTube and subscribe to his YouTube channel and watch the videos. And Tony's Garage too. Subscribe to Tony's Garage too.
Yeah, no, that's cool, man. He is a good guy. Uncle Tony's Garage.
Uncle Tony's Garage. Yeah. So now I'm going to ask you a few fun questions here, John.
Sure, Dick.
Well, what's your hobbies outside of doing this thing with the funny car and drags? Any other hobbies besides working on cars and stuff?
Yeah, that's funny because my wife probably would say no because that's all I do is drag racing, vintage drag racing, historic drag racing, talk to people about drag racing, source drag racing parts. So probably not, but I do have a happy home here with 4 cats, so those definitely keep me busy. When I'm on the road, these 4 cats miss us. The 4 feral cats that we just took in from outside, They're born in our backyard. We brought them in, so they're real sweet cats, and we love them for sure. So I would probably have to say cats. Cats is my favorite thing.
All right, now if you could go do time traveling and go backwards in time, would you do anything differently with the career in drag racing?
I probably wouldn't because he's amazing. So, obviously things happen for like a reason. God has a plan for everybody. I wasn't always a spiritual person, but as I get older and I hang around people that are, I can really kind of see that that's the case. And I got to tell you, the way things turned out with my dad and the way I followed the sport and the way Ingenue kind of fell into my lap. That car was not always in the family. It just kind of fell back into the family, which was, unbelievable. So, of course, we had to restore it and bring it back to its former glory. But then the Billy Lynch car and my dad's car, his other car, the dragster, the fact that all these cars fell into my lap, I gave up a lot of nice cars to get them. And the fact that I own them, I have to just thank God and just be really, truly blessed that things happened the way they did. Could not change anything if I tried.
All right, so now when you used to go out traveling with your dad all the time for drag racing, did you ever have a most embarrassing moment?
Probably more than one. Let's see.
Well,
One
which one
immediately
stands
out in
out?
my mind.
Yeah, which one really stands out?
Yeah, the one that stands out the most is since Steve Elise had a Buick dealership, they always tow the dragster. Remember when I said the dragster was a car that they ran? They built the Buick to satisfy Buick, and then somebody else ran the car. They really didn't care about the Buick too much. They were into our dragsters. So they would go. My father built the dragsters, and they had a trailer. And since Steve Elise owned the Buick dealer, more than likely, every time the car was towed, they had a brand new station wagon. That's what everybody towed with back in those days. So they had an estate wagon that they towed. Anyway, I'm a young kid, and I'm running around, and they put a big hitch on the back of the thing, coming out the back, obviously, and they probably welded up a whole towing, like assembly in the back of that thing anyway. Probably couldn't even buy one. So as a kid, I come running around, and I'm running from the passenger side over the other, didn't see it, and hit that thing right about in my shin. And I got to tell you, you only do that one time, and you probably realize that you probably never want to do that again. I learned fast to look without before you ran into stuff.
All right, so now, John, after all these years of being involved with drag racing, what still keeps you passionate about doing this stuff?
What's the passion of doing it? That's the thing. Is I have to say it's my father. I talk to my dad all the time, even though he's in those ashes. He's there. We did scatter a lot of his ashes out of Bakersfield, thanks to John Hale Racing. John Hale was nice enough to do that. But I got to say, it's got to be my father because we take him everywhere. I talk to him in the car. We're taking him back to Indy, where he had a lot of racing fun during the late '60s. And I think that's the thing, the fact that I still get emotional about that. The fact that, and everybody really loves the fact that we take my dad everywhere and that we still carry that passion on it. People follow me on Facebook, and they can tell that basically, that's the reason why that we end up doing it, because we love him and we know that, he's there with us at all times. And it's just a good feeling, it really is. To put people in the car, we love to do that with the kids in the car. We love to involve people as much as we can and show them that this is how cars looked back in the day.
All right, now here's a easy question for you. Should be anyway, unless you got a lot of them. What's your favorite food to eat?
What's my favorite? What again? I'm sorry.
Favorite food?
Oh, favorite food?
Yep.
Oh, being Italian, I probably have to say Italian food. Although I will say this, Mexican food comes a close second, without a doubt. I really like Mexican food. If I could eat Mexican food every day, I probably wouldn't say no. But I do love Italian food. That'd probably be number one.
Now, does your wife cook?
My wife doesn't cook. No, I'm the one that cooks, and I always tell my friends if I'm not cooking, we're not eating.
So what do you consider your best dish to make?
Well, tonight we're having salmon. As a matter of fact, I went to Costco. They have that wild, that copper red with that real red salmon. They only have it for about a week or so. So we're having salmon tonight and a salad. We try to eat as healthy as we can because when I'm home, I try to do that. When I'm on the road, it isn't always as easy. You know, it's not as easy to eat the way you'd like to do. But yeah, usually salmon. I like salmon. You know, I make soups. I made a soup today. We had soup for lunch, so I had soup for lunch. So I could pretty much make just about anything. We always have something in the house to make.
All right. Now, what's your favorite beverage?
Well, we do like wine. I used to be in the wine business, and I do like my red wine. Pinot Noir, I would have to say. Nice California Russian River Pinot. Also Chardonnay. I do like Burgundy wines, anything like that. But I'd say Pinot Noir and Chardonnay wines are my favorite. Tequila's not bad either.
Now, what about as far as non-alcoholic?
Non-alcoholic stuff. Well, I drink a lot of water as much as I can. Probably not enough. When it's hot out, we've been drinking some of that Gatorade at some of these events. So I can see why you need to try to replenish some of that because water sometimes just isn't enough. But I don't really drink soft drinks or anything like that. I probably try to drink as much water as I can.
You have a favorite movie of all time?
Favorite movie of all time? I would have to say probably Heart Like a Wheel. I thought that was a great movie.
Oh, yeah, Shirley Muldowney, yeah.
I thought that was a big flick. I thought they did a great job. Even though, I thought it was as realistic as it could be for somebody that was watching that wasn't into drag racing. So I thought that was a great flick. I really did.
Yeah, I like that one, too.
Cool, man.
What's your favorite music?
Oh, that's a funny thing. I'm out in the shop a lot, so I have to polish wheels, polish a lot of magnesium, things of that nature. It's kind of a constant thing. The aluminum keeps itself pretty good because I have the garage and they have climate control. But it's hard to keep the magnesium shiny. So you got to listen to metal whenever you got stuff like that. You got to listen to the heavy stuff to get you motivated. Doesn't mean that I won't listen to jazz. I love some smooth jazz, and this is what I'm listening to right now in the background. And I love the blues, so I can listen to just about anything. I'm not into country and not really into rap, but I'm into everything else, basically, under the sun.
Awesome. Now, when you were growing up as a kid, did you have a favorite cartoon?
Favorite cartoon? I thought that Speed Racer was really cool because that was the car thing, And I always thought that car was really cool that he used to drive. I guess a S5 or whatever that was, a 5 something or other. I always thought that was really cool the way the fenders were, kind of like a pontoon fender, like a Ferrari. So I'd have to say Speed Racer. The Jetsons was pretty cool too because they were flying all over the place. But I really did like Speed Racer.
Here comes Speed Racer.
Exactly.
Now, if you weren't doing this drag race thing, the cackling with the car and all that, what do you think you'd be doing with your life? Any idea?
Well, it's funny. I was a really good artist when I was a kid, and I used to draw cars all the time when I was in school. They threw me out. They called my parents all the time, and so they saw. But I guess they saw that there was a talent there, and so they sent me to some schools in New York to further that. And while I drew a lot, I just kind of just put it aside. Like okay, I could do that. I never really challenged myself to get better. And I was always into drawing cars and trying to design cars. I would think that if I didn't get into that and I was more into the art part of it, I would probably end up, I would think, designing cars of some kind, maybe interiors or exteriors or something. And because I was always interested in that and I was always drawing cars. And so something like that seemed like a natural fit.
All right, here's a bonus question. What do you think about the Joe Walla band?
Joe Walla?
Yeah.
Joe Walla's a great guy. Love him. He's such a dynamic person, and whenever you're around him, you can't help but feel like you're like alive. Joe Walla's a cool guy, man. Love him a lot. I've just talked to him a bunch at the races, seen him at other events, and he's just a guy that's just full of life. He really is. Wishing him the best.
And what do you consider to be the fondest memory of your whole career in drag racing?
Oh, hard to say. If I had to say everything that's gone on, I would have to say the debut of Ingenue, which was May 21st, 1967. That was at Englishtown Raceway, and I was just about 10 years old, but I remember it like the back of my hand because the first time the car came out, there was huge crowds around it because no one had ever seen Buick, and for a reason obviously, no one ever built a Buick. And the fact that it ran against Doug Nash in the Bronco Buster 2. And that car was, if you remember that car, it was an aluminum chassis car that weighed about 1,100 pounds. It was quickly outlawed by NHRA. But that car, I used to draw that car all the time. I thought that was the coolest car. So I was so into that race because I remember running the Bronco Buster 2, which I thought was an iconic car at the time. And so that was a memory that I'll never forget. Ingenue actually beat Doug Nash when both cars broke at that event, but Ingenue couldn't come back. So it wasn't to be that day. But I do remember that well. That was probably the kind of memory that's really just embedded into my brain.
So now, if people are listening right now and they want to find the schedule of where you're going to be at, what's the best way to website?
The best way to check that out, and this is go to BuickFunnyCar.com. It's really easy to remember, real simple. BuickFunnyCar.com is a website that was created by Claire Sanders. Everybody knows who he is. Jungle Claire Sanders was the other driver of the Jungle Gym Nova, the 69 Nova. And he was the first winner of the funny car class at the Winter Nationals in 1969. And when he left the racing career, he drove all kinds of cars. He drove Line Fire. He drove the Ram Chargers car. He's driven all kinds of great cars. He went on to become a webmaster and designs websites. And he did a terrific job on my site. And it's got the dragster as well as everything about the funny car, from the history of the car to the present day, and to the schedule of the events that we're running with the websites and ways to find us. So BuickFunnyCar.com is where you can find us.
Awesome. Well, John, I want to thank you very much for taking time with me to do an interview.
Hey, Dave, listen, I really appreciate it. Sorry it's taken so long, but I appreciate all your time and really, really appreciate the interest in the car.
No, you're welcome. You have any final words or thank yous, anything you want to do before we close?
I just want to say we're having the time of our lives this year. We really are. I want to thank my wife, Lipori. We've just had a great time. The people I've met, the places we've been this year we're having, it's like none other, and I'll remember for the rest of my life.
Awesome.
So if you're out in the area, anybody's out in the area, check out the website, BuickFunnyCar.com. And if you see an event that's close to you, please come on out and see us, because it's probably the last time we'll car will be back in the East Coast.
Yeah, make sure you say hi to John. Don't be scared to say hi to him and talk to him about the car.
No, man. Come on up. I'm really easy to spot. I'll have that Ingenue shirt on. I'll be, you'll see me. I'll be the loud-talking Italian guy there.
And don't forget the YouTube channel, John Lipori, Lipori. Subscribe.
Correct.
Watch the Cackle videos on there. Well, thank you again, John.
Thank you, Dave. Take care.
You're more than welcome to come on anytime you want.
Appreciate it, man. I sure will.
You have a great night.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.